Cool. All right, so let's open it up. Questions for Samantha and Ashley? Anyone? Don't be afraid.
How many songs would you like to receive on first contact from somebody?
I would say no more than 3.
3.
Yeah. Just
And
then
all
it
in
gets
one
long.
folder or separate links? Do you like it?
It really doesn't matter if it's only like 1 to 3, but one link always works. Like just a link to one link to a Dropbox with 3 songs attached. But it is easier if it's on one page. I can kind of have the window open and it like go through the songs as I'm like working too. So
I always like to think of it this way. Like successful people, instead of looking for opportunities, they like to solve problems. So think ahead of it. Like I said about Sonnet, she was the first person I like fully like hired and said like, I'm gonna pay to have you here. And then I kept giving her more responsibility and more because she would take that initiative to solve my problem. Like she would bring me a spreadsheet and I'd be like, well, what's that? Like I'm like an artist. This is what I'm doing, this is what I'm not doing. And then an update. I'm not even asking her. Here's the update every week of what I've done and what I'm doing. I'm like, okie doke, this girl's on her game. And with music supervisor, we started Catch the Moon. We were like, okay, instead of just sending them like, here's our new artist album, it's like, how can we help the artist that when we send the album, it's good for what they're working on. It's got to solve the problem. If they click on it and it's beautiful, I signed this girl a few years ago. She was on NPR. Actually signed her, and then one of the music supervisors in my community posted on Facebook because we're friends. Like she had just heard her on NPR, she thought she was amazing, and I was like, oh, cool. Andrea Van Forster posted that she loved this girl too. And I was like, oh, Andrea, I have her music. She's like, yeah, it doesn't work for anything. And I was like, so what's going on? How's that new vegan restaurant? Like it's because you need to have music that works for the project. So this is why people will get into like, you get in your own way. You're able to, I'm telling you, you can figure out, as every artist on all the shows she just mentioned, Orange is the New Black and all the Pixar movies, do you not think that the music from Lin-Manuel Miranda is amazing? Like Moana is amazing, but he listened to the director. Like he sat in meetings and was like, what do you need? Okay, let me, it wasn't just like, no, John, can you have a seat? Here's what I wrote, this is what I'm thinking. It was like, no, what's the story, Let me help you, right? So you can be genuine and you can make music that works for sync. And this is why I created the course, because we get so many submissions and the music doesn't work. And I'm like, and then I tell people, like, well, why? I'm like, I don't have the time to sit down with you and teach you this one-on-one. I've also got 3 kids. I'm writing a book. I have a podcast. I'm like a little spent right now. But the point is, we need to figure out how to solve problems. So making one link. What else could you write? What else could you include that would make it make sense? Could you talk about how you own it 200%? That lets them know you understand how to clear it, or you have an agent and this is who you're working with. How can you let them know that you're there to solve a problem? Think ahead, and then you're going to stand out. That's the thing I want to just keep reminding you is most people don't do any of this. They do the low-hanging fruit. They send a random email that they copy and paste and send it to everybody, and they send a song they just wrote. Not a song that works for what she's working on, or what you would. Don't you hate when people are like, "This is so Disney," and you're like, yes. That's not Disney. Have you listened? Like, we're not doing zippity doo dah anymore. Like, listen to what we do. Yeah. So do the research, or join the class, and we'll teach you how to do the research. Who else? Question?
Like, are you guys open to hearing like snippets? Like, I send you like a link to like a 20-second snippet of an outro that I think is perfect, rather than like hoping you get to the end and, hearing that one moment. You know what I mean?
yeah, or you could even write a note. That happens a lot too. Let's say like the rise of the song happens at this minute. Sometimes I think it's more helpful just to hear the whole song, even if the outro you think is important. I just think having the whole song as reference, but I think it would be helpful to put a note saying like, hey, this part of the song at this so seconds, and then maybe I'll listen to the whole thing or I'll skip to that part. But that happens a lot. Well, they say there's a rise at 1:30, and it's helpful.
Yeah, so
just put in like parentheses after the last.
I had a question. You had mentioned that you had TV shows on Hulu and Netflix and stuff like that. Is there anything that would be helpful for me to know about those platforms?
It's not really much of a difference on our side. We're still just listening for whatever could fit and passing along to the music supervisors. And our budgets are usually like in the same kind of range. But yeah, Netflix show had the smallest one, so it's really hard to.
And the show I just worked on with Netflix, we wrote the theme, and it was maybe 6 or 7 times the budget of a theme song I had written for another network. Mm-hmm. And they give us, our deal is like they give us another chunk every season, plus royalties, plus they allowed us to keep some of our writers and publishing share, which sometimes you don't get to be vendor publishing. So it was like the best thing. It just depends, like that, this show has a huge budget. Not every show does. It's the same thing with TV. You know, I've done episodes of TV for $3 grand, $6 grand, 10. 10 was the biggest because Pretty Little Liars has a big budget, just randomly. But then other shows on ABC Family or Freeform have like $3,000. It just depends. But Netflix is like, I think, the gold standard right now, and Amazon, and it's actually changing, and you can still get residuals, and not everybody is pitching to them right now yet. Like, so that's a good place to be sort of putting your sights on.
I was wondering about that with syndication, because like with Netflix, there is no syndication.
Yeah, you get paid, you get royalties.
Okay.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah, go ahead.
I was just wondering how much social media following and YouTube and iTunes, how much does that influence if you'll go for a certain artist, if at all?
We don't really tend to look at that too much because we're just going to the song first, right? Would you say?
Yeah, same. Yeah, I don't really pay attention to that.
This is what I'm saying, people. You hearing it? I'm stressing it because how often do you hear people tell you that this is so hard or not happening, right? That's what you always hear. This is what it's so refreshing. They don't care how many YouTube followers you have or how many people have heard your song and liked you on Facebook. They don't care. They want the song to be great. They want it to be easy to clear, and they want it to work for the scene. And that's it. Go ahead.
Hi. Actually, Ashley, this is a question for you. You mentioned that you also hire singers, because I know a lot about the sing world, but I'm curious, do you put like a breakdown out, or breakdown services, or how do you do that? Like,
I actually go to a contractor.
oh, you do? So you have to be with that contractor?
Well, pretty well. You should be in SAG, definitely, if you're a singer. I usually go to Jasper Randall. I don't know if anyone knows him.
That's what we use too.
Yep. Jasper is like the guy to know.
Yep.
And he works with Peter Rotter. There's a couple other people. Bobby.
Ben, do you know Ben Brown? Do you ever work with him?
No.
He does Pentatonics, but he did Glee and Pitch Perfect. He's a local contractor. He's great.
And sometimes certain composers use certain contractors, and that's like the only person they'll use. Like Tom Newman only uses this lady. I feel so bad I can't remember her name right now. I think it's Bobby. But yeah, we get them through their contractors.
Got it. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
It's all about proximity, you know? So that's why at the end of the day, you know, if you can connect with a person, whether it's an agent or a local contractor or a manager or somebody who already has the relationship, it's worth what could take you, you know, years, which is why I started out having agents for years. And then after 5 years, I was like, okay, well, I have a little bit of name recognition. I've done well. Maybe I could now figure out. But again, it took like a while to then build the relationships and get in there with people, even who had known me and used my music. But to build that trust, I initially worked with an agent for a few years to learn while having somebody who has that proximity versus like learning and trying to get the meeting at the same time. You know, it helps to try to connect with an agent as much as you can. Yeah, go ahead in the back.
Yeah. I just wanted to ask, as a recommendations for songwriters, where do you recommend spending our efforts?
But number one is creating the great content, I would say, too. You know, it's like sometimes people are spending so much time pitching and reaching out and sending all this stuff, but the songs have to be there, too.
I'm so glad you
put
just
all
said
your
that.
energy into that
Because
first.
I just mentioned Ben Bram, who he started Pentatonics. I just interviewed him for the podcast. And you guys know Pentatonics? Yeah. They're just unbelievable. So Ben it's his vision, you know, he does all the arrangement and he put the group together. And I said to him, you know, so what do you think is your advice? And he's like, do the work first. He's like, people want to get the meeting before the work is there. And that's like the worst thing you can do. I remember early on in my career, and I'm not joking, it's true. Like the people I connect with early on because I'm pretty good at getting a meeting, and I would get the meeting, those are people who I don't have in my life because they remember me as that girl who's 26, whose music was really mediocre. And now that I'm like, hey, look, they like we don't have, it's not happening. So, and you know, so I'm like kind of sorry I had that meeting and they heard that music before, you know what I'm saying? Whereas like Mitchell Lieb, I finally connected with him once I was like in a good zone, and then he had us work on, oh my God, Timothy Green, Life of Timothy
Odd
Green.
Life.
The Odd Life of Timothy Green. I worked on that, and then I worked with Kaylin on something else, and then I was like I met him at the right time.
Yeah.
So I feel like vet it first, and it's worth it to do the work, because like I'm literally saying, like, nobody does that part. People will do like 6 songs, and then they'll be like, well, I did 6 songs and nothing happened, so I'm just gonna pitch them. Like, this person doesn't get it. It's like, no, people get it. People get it. When the song is great, all those doors just open up, because we'll hear it, we'll be like, oh my god, this is amazing. Yeah. So you do have to work on the craft, and I know that part is like, everyone wants a shortcut around that, but it doesn't take that long if you really set your mind at it and you make that a habit. Eventually it's going to get better and better. So find a group of people who can vet your work and get feedback. Take the note. Yeah, right here.
Can you talk a little bit about exclusivity versus non-exclusivity? You just brought it up, so I figured that's a good question.
Are you thinking about that stuff at all?
Not really. I mean, if an agent has like material, I don't really know. It doesn't really matter to me, I guess, necessarily what their relationship is, as long as it's easy to clear.
Yeah.
It's really all it comes down to. I mean, because we don't know what deal you have with yours.
Yeah.
But we do know if it gets very, very difficult to clear and takes too long, and then we're like, well, we need to lock this episode.
That spreads around really quickly. We just started with our Capture the Moon artists. We just were like, we're gonna allow you guys to be non-exclusive, because we know people. When I started signing with people, I signed with everyone exclusively, because they'll say to you, you have to do it that way. You'll get looked down upon, and so I did that. And eventually I was like, wait a minute. So often a song is repped by several people, because there'll be 2 writers on it, and each writer will have different agents. And I was like, I'm on to you. So, I want people to have as many soldiers out there fighting your fight. So if the music is great, we trust that the relationships we have are great, and they're strong with the supervisors we work with, and so we'll send that music, and that will work out. And if somebody else needs to, wants to have somebody else out there, not everybody knows everyone. Just if they tell you they do, they're lying. It's just like people say they never fight with their husband. They're lying to you. So you need to work with as many people as possible, and as long as it's not like you're spread so thin all over the place, and the music has got to be easy to clear. The second, we won't pitch music, I'll tell you this, if we don't have it signed, though. Because it can't be so loosey-goosey. We're like, oh, can you just pitch this? No, because I need to know that I have a contract with you, and you're indemnifying me that you know that you own this, and you told me who owns this side, who owns that side. I'm not going to risk a relationship I have and pitch anything unless I know 100% where everything is coming from and that it's all clearable. Does that make sense? So that's the part that you have control over. But I think if you work with like a couple good people, unless you feel, this is the thing, sometimes a really good agent, if they want you exclusively, it's worth it. Because they'll feel like if they're going to give you 100% and that's how they work, sometimes it's really worth to go all in with them. There's some times where we have people who, go all in with us, and we feel that, and they sort of continue to meet us there by continuing to give us new music, and it's a relationship that it's not passive, so it grows, and in a way they become top of mind for us, and then we pitch them more. Because they're so in our face and they're constantly sending us new songs. So you have to sort of pick your battles. Yeah, Rhea?
Hey, I just wanted to know if you guys, do either of you guys have genres that are kind of hard to find good music for?
I feel like sometimes when it comes to like acoustic love songs, they all start to sound the same. Yeah. So that, and it's such a formula sometimes. So I think, and so many, those are the songs that really end up in a lot of episodes. It's just like, I think it just connects to people. People like to feel emotional, and they want to hear a guitar and someone sing about, being sad over someone they love. And I think that gets a little harder over time. I mean,
and that's for TV, by the way. That's not the case in ads. Ads are not looking for you to talk about your breakup, right? That's like definitely specific for TV. But yes, you're saying something that pops. That's not the standard formula.
Right. Even if it's just like a melody or even a note or something that's like a little different than just the same kind of.
Well, that's why that Gautier song was incredible.
Yes.
Because it was like it was like so out of nowhere.
Right.
Somebody I used to know loved that song. And it's a great line.
Even like Lord too, that first one was so different. Like, okay, like it has the same, kind of emits the same feeling, but
there's something haunting about it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and the truth is that Gautier song would also work for an ad just because of the vibe.
Totally.
The lyric wouldn't even matter as much because the vibe is so cool. Yeah, go ahead.
If you guys are going out to live music events to find new artists, what are some of the venues that you guys?
Like Hotel Cafe.
Mm-hmm.
I go to the Echo, going to the Hi-Hat in Highland Park. I don't like to go too west. That's just because of where I live. I live on the east side. But the Troubadour is obviously great, but it's as far west as you can go. I'm like, if I get an invite to the show, I'm like, please don't make it to Troubadour. But it's still
Easter Johanny, please.
Stay on the east side. Yeah, I think those are the places I go the most.
Yeah, I'd say the same. I'm at Hotel Cafe in the Echo.
How often do you
a
go?
lot. I would say maybe like once every 2 months.
See what I mean? Because they get asked to go every day. That's when we stop. I kind of like stopped doing that because people, you know, it's hard for people to get out, and I respect people. People have a life, you know. I also think the recorded sound is different anyway, and they need the recorded sound. So I think that's what's so cool at music licensing is you could live in Iceland and wind up having a great licensing career without being in LA or without meeting somebody face to face, because it's the recording and it's about getting that over the power of email to somebody's desk and, you know,
Tudor, question, you keep that?
Yes, earlier you talked about clearing, and I was curious if you write with several people regularly, does that complicate the clearing process as long as everybody is represented?
Musicians tend to be so loosey-goosey about this part that it needs to be clear. Like if somebody sends me a song and there's any ambivalence, I'm not going to touch the song. And even if they come back and say, oh, I'm like, I'm afraid of it. Because my relationship with her is paramount, because if I ruin that, everybody else who's counting on me, I won't be able to pitch their music again to her. And there's only, I mean, we probably work steadily with a group of like 40 music supervisors, and that's everything. So it's easy to like start to ruin relationships. So as long as you, in your co-write, everyone knows who owns the publishing, who represents the publishing, and then if you have a co-writer who has a publishing deal or an admin deal or someone who needs to be in on the clearance, if your licensing agent needs to clear it, you need to let them know, okay, so now you need to make sure this person clears this side. That can't be something that comes out in the 11th hour, because everyone gets screwed. It's horrible. It's like a panic. We just had, oh my God, from the last Sing Keepers event, Jen Malone was up here and she needed a rap music, for those of you who were here. Do you remember that? So we had people who came forward and we were like, great, and we asked all those questions, and she was here. So we took a little bit more because she directly was talking to artists. So we were trying to help her facilitate it. It wound up being fine. But one of the artists was like, oh, my co-writer doesn't have any representation, but they live in Sweden. And I was like, great, but who reps it? Where's the 50% of the publishing? I don't know, can I claim it? I'm like, are you joking? Are you joking right now? And it was like a small deal, but it needed to be done. And it all worked out, and the person was, it all worked out. But I literally was having a heart attack. Like I was up in the middle of the night, like talking to this guy in Sweden, like I don't want to do any of that. And she was freaking out. It's not worth it, because for that one stupid mistake she would have made, she could have gotten fired, and she wouldn't want to talk. So it all worked out, and I just said, like, I'm probably not going to touch rap music because it's so uncomfortable for me, because, oh, this person was in the room. It's like, I can't, that's scary, you know, and it's like, I need to know. So we sign people less and less because we want to know exactly what the song is. We want to know exactly. It's not worth it. It's just not worth the stress. So, but if everyone's on board, before you send that song out, before that song gets emailed to an agent, to a supervisor, you need to know 200% of that song. Who owns the writer's share, who owns the publishing, and then who reps that publishing, and do you have the right to respond and approve it? And as long as once you get in the habit of it, it's really easy. And even if somebody else is rep, that's okay. Just make sure I know that. So, there have been times where my co-writers have publishing deals. And so I'll let the music supervisor know, I can clear this side, and you need to talk to so-and-so for this side. No problem. Just needs to be all up front. Yeah, Chris.
So, in adding to what you're just saying about, so you can have a situation where, say, I wrote a song with someone, but I can have an agreement with them saying, like, you own half the publishing and half the writing, but I am allowed to clear it.
Yeah, controlling something is different than owning it.
Sure.
So you can have 100% control,
yeah,
which is perfect, but you just can assign who owns it. I own this part, I control all of it, but I own this part and they own this part.
And by controlling, meaning like if I got a placement, I could be like, yep, cleared.
Yeah, unless the person has a publishing deal,
Right.
That publisher probably doesn't want to give over that approval right, but if the person doesn't have a publishing deal, they can let you know that you can approve it on their behalf.
And then otherwise, if they do have a publishing deal, then I would just have to be like, I can clear this, and then
Yeah,
you have to tell
and
me.
that's fine. We do that all the time. Yeah, every day. Who
So
else?
is there
Yeah, go ahead.
like a deal memo or something that we could do like when we're writing that just clears all that up and gets it out of the way?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not an attorney, and I can get like sued for giving legal advice, just like a realtor giving non-realtor giving realtor advice, and But Huck Ingram is a realtor. He's not a realtor. He's a lawyer that we work with, and we're actually about to do a Q&A with him for the people who are in our class. They're going to get a Q&A with him, and then we will probably post it. But people in our class will be able to ask him questions directly. And he's a great attorney. He just negotiated my Netflix deal for me. He's affordable. He's great. His wife is an amazing artist. Oh my God, her producer and her just nailed it.
What was his name?
His name is Huck Ingram. He used to work at a big label, but now he's working with indie artists. And you could probably hire him for like a small amount of money and even split it with your co-writer and get something in writing that you're going to just be able to use. And even if you want to use him or somebody like him for a licensing agreement, so you can get the feel of all the pieces of it, it could wind up being really fruitful and saving you money in the long run. My husband's an attorney, so I like to say I have my own in-house attorney, and he does licensing at Fox. So he's helped me in my career be able to, I think that was part of my success, is knowing how to make things easy, because I knew sometimes artists are like, and they make things so much drama when it's like not a big deal, and you need to be able to not have any drama. So I think being able to go with the flow and knowing what you're signing, it's worth it to hire him.
And not have to make a call at the moment of the...
Yeah. Oh God, that won't work.
Yeah.
If we're in the middle of something, so well, let me look at that. And I'm like, are you joking? Like, this is one cue. Like, we're not gonna have an argument about it. It's like
samples all over the place.
If you wrote a song and then it's cleared, if it's just yours from you and no one's worked on it, then it's clear.
What do you think about? You probably have a lot of shows that need stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, we have, Dear White People was a lot of R&B. We have a show that's going to be coming out. The pilot just got picked up. It's called White Famous. It's going to be on Showtime. It's about loosely based on Jamie Foxx's life, and Jay Farrow plays just a black actor in Hollywood trying to break the mainstream, and it's funny and it's raunchy. So there'll definitely be opportunities. It's it's Showtime, and it's not going to be anything that we're worried about. Lyrical content, and I think it's going to be a little more like Atlanta Southern rap, I have a feeling.
Mm-hmm.
So that'll definitely be, like no holds bar with lyrics and content. It really depends on the scene too. It's hard sometimes when a song is so specific. Sometimes it works really well, but sometimes something's so specific where it really just has it all has to align with the perfect moment to fit it.
If you can write a song about that feeling, or feeling good, or tonight, or we can do this, or we got this, or it's hot, or just something that says something generic like I'm serious, or wow, or that thing, or something like that. That really works for site licensing, because someone's talking. Remember, there's a story going on, and then they're going to cut to a song, or it's going to be behind the talking. So it can't be about your specific, but it could be something that's specific to your feeling, but just talks about it in a more generic way. All of my songs, if you look at all the titles, you're like, that could fit anywhere, But it's I know what I wrote it about, and it's something really specific to me, but I'm saying it to you in a way that's, And there's so many songs that you love that you don't think about, like the song Hallelujah. I was just thinking about it because Pentatonics just did a cover of it. Hallelujah by Leonard Cohen, put that anywhere. It's Hallelujah. I mean, that could be something somber, or it could be something uplifting. I mean, it's just such and we just got asked for something to match We Are the Champions by Queen. That's a great generic, and we actually just got asked for it in a more ironic way, where it's an ad about something that's not going well, and We Are the Champions can be, because it's funny, because they're failing at something. But it could also be great for anything, or that song by Queen, You're My Best Friend. It's been in so many movies. It works in everything. It was in The Breakup, but it works. It works. And the other thing is, the vocal on all those songs is not saccharine. It's got a heavy, it's rich. It's got a texture to it. And a lot of times people send us happy songs with it just feels so not genuine, and it's not going to work. So like Nate and Kaylee just sent us a song, and it was Kaylee's vocal, and she sings great. And on the particular song, I said, Nate, can you sing it? Because it doesn't sound. But there's other songs that are like sexy, and she sings them, and it's like perfect, and it wouldn't work as well as we sang. All right, well, here's what's going to happen. We are going to thank you both for taking time on a Sunday. I mean, this is really generous. And you know, you totally lived up to everything that I said. You're both like so. You can tell, can't you tell when someone's like faking it, or they're just so and like she's been at Pixar for 10 years and she's not jaded. She doesn't have a huge ego. You're such an easy to love person. You're both so kind and generous with what you said in this time. It really means a lot to us, and I know that it meant a lot to everybody. So thank you for coming.